G'day, doggies fans, all things Bulldogs. It's the podcast episode 23, and I'm just going to wait for a few people to jump on tonight. Please bear with me with the internet. If anything happens with the internet tonight, I will, where it cuts out or something like that for a while, what I'll do is just create another live off my phone out in the wilderness somewhere. So I had some internet issues today, but hopefully it's resolved long enough for us to all have a chat. G'day, JD. G'day, old fella Dave. Welcome, Timmy. Good to see you. And welcome, Scotty. I hope you're well. So, an update on my bag. I've lost pretty much a whole heap of stuff. 4 of my best outfits. I took a number of ones, so I didn't know which ones I was going to wear, jackets and whatever else. And they lost my luggage at Jetstar, so now trying to make a claim. Hopefully it's just ridiculous. But anyway, that's life. It doesn't matter if you got travel insurance or not. You can't replace that stuff, most of it. But anyway, so for those who watched the preview, thanks for everyone who watched it. Welcome, Paulie. Good to have you on again. Massive game Thursday, Scotty. Massive game. So I'm going to wait for a few more people to jump on, and then we'll start getting into it. But the 17 I named up, well, basically, 21 of the 23 players or 22 players that I named are playing or on the extended bench, and got the 17 completely right, which I expect a lot of people would have if they've been paying attention. Pumped for a big week. This is a big game for us. We'll show if we want it or not. 100%. Look, nerves could come into it. They've had the wood on us for a long time, but we've ticked a lot of those boxes and got rid of those one by one over 2 or 3 years now, and asserted some dominance, as we've talked about, with some teams. And this Penrith box is one we've got to tick. G'day. Yeah, well, they've actually written it off as lost now. I don't know how you lose a massive luggage bag that gets checked in by the people there. You watch it go through, they weigh it. Anyway. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, I don't wear this one too often because I've got a bit of a big head. But yeah, 3 of my favourite hats are no longer with us. Yes, that's it. The Berries logo. It's going to be up for it, I reckon. Oh, they'll definitely be up for it. And I think they'll be expecting look, this Bulldog side's going to start its semi-final preparations this week. We've been building into this. Panthers have been building into it as well. They've been playing, grinding, outlast football for a number of weeks now. And potentially been more impressive than us over the last 5 weeks, even though we've won a lot of our games. With only the 2 losses on Thursday nights. So we've got to break that habit as well this Thursday. Should be a cracker, says Timmy. Hopefully, if you're out there, get to this game. I want to see you there. I won't be there. Massive test. Penrith is almost the final frontier in regular season. We haven't beaten them for years. No, it's been March 2018 with Dean Pay. Was the last time we beat the Panther. I remember they were hotly expected to do well. It may have been that year, actually. And our reserve grade side beat them in a trial by about 40 points. And they had a real slow start to a season. They might have even missed the finals 2018, I think. Made it in 2019. I'm not sure. Was it 2018 that Cam Serrato took over, or was that 2019? Can't remember. We've had all our buys. This is our run into the finals. Need to step up from now. James, you're handling the lost luggage a lot better than I would. Oh, mate, I'm not handling it at all. I'm absolutely devo and really angry because I can't replace it. You know, I can't replace a 2000. You know, I've got my 2023 Indigenous hoodie, Indigenous training shirt underneath. You know, really nice jeans that I got. Belts, everything, shoes. You know, my extra little phone that I use, it's not worth nothing. Like, they'll probably give me $50 for it. But I use it to, you know, record stuff on and stuff. Anyway, hey, Mark, welcome. The banner will be there on Thursday. Let's all get there and bring the boys home. So the Don't Break the Fence banner, get out there and support it. It'll be in the kennel. Yeah, I know Ciro took over in 2023. I mean when he was at Penrith, brother. When he took over, when Gus sacked Anthony Griffin mid-season when they were fourth on the table. And I think with about 6 or 7 rounds to go, Serrato, I think, had 5 wins from 8 games maybe. And I think they might have lost the semi that he coached. Yeah, that's it, bro. All right, so you can see the sides there. I've corrected them to the correct ones. I had that maybe Alamotti will get named ahead of their winger, the young fella who went across. He left and went to Newcastle and come back, and he's done pretty good. He's had some real. They call him Milky as well, same as our Bailey Haywood. But ours is a bit better, I reckon. But he's been doing well under the high ball and got better and better every week. The more they've left him in the side, and they've kept him at number 2. But I said I had a feeling that Alamotti might come in, and either himself or McLean will be dropped. I think they'll drop the Blondie. I've just got a feeling about that. Thomas Jenkins. I always forget his last name. I reckon he'll be dropped, and they will bring Alamotti onto that wing. And Alamotti's actually pretty good under the high ball as well. But yeah, their bench, Schneider, Henry, Patea, and Luke Garner. I don't think we'll see. They obviously lost Sorensen, who scored 2 tries, very important tries for the Panthers last week against the Warriors, only a few days ago on Saturday. So that's the big thing here with this game, guys. That's the big thing. Penrith, 5-day turnaround for most of their side. Their Origin stars got to have that week off, but they had to come back from Perth from an Origin game. They've played a lot of football in the last few years, but they will be ready to go. G'day, Elaine. Welcome. Hope you're feeling good. Alamotti is a steal for Penrith. Yeah, well, I've talked a lot about Paul Alamotti in the last few. Very talented kid, someone we paid overs for a long time before he even debuted, just to keep a player like that in our system. And then, you know, his manager started requesting $600,000 a season on a 4-year deal when he played 3 games. And sure, we were 2-1 at the time, but it was a very long season for Paul after that. And he's now got a premiership ring, so well done to him. Who's the ref? Actually, I don't know. So let's get it up there. It's Grant Atkins. And a lot of people think Grant favours the Panthers. Isn't that funny? It's always the one, especially Broncos fans. The old former club focus, play them against the old team. That's it, buddy. We saw it. Like, Jason Rolls named 4 or 5 Eels to play the Dogs, and I think it actually didn't help him. I think there's a couple of other players they could have played off their bench, which would have given them a better balance. But I think he's playing towards the long game roles. But yeah, they do it all the time. We wanted to have Turpin play against the Roosters, put a rooster, an old rooster against a rabbit, stuff like that. We're a better side this year, Panthers. Lots of young players who are improving, but untested in big games. Well, look, they've had some pretty big. I think every game's been a big game for Penrith this year, and going through those stats that I was going through in the early preview suggests to me that their style and their structure is very, very similar. Their younger players, look, they've even had games where they've dominated possession, but because they were poor defensively or exposed early in games, weren't able to peel it back. Probably about 4 losses that they had chasing down, and that was probably in that first 8 or 9 weeks. But looking at the eye test, they're still way up there in the way that they go about their business. And it just shows you, you've got it's a system that's designed for perfection and for 80 minutes. And you've got to be able to play an 80-minute game and execute. And see, if you really compare the Penrith side over the through this dynasty, which may not be over yet, what you got to look at is that in those seasons where they struggled to score points off their possession, there was many of those games, right? But they didn't concede the points that they conceded this year. And that's come from having, as Paulie said, a lot of young players. Players probably a little bit early for them, not 100%, so that connection's not there. And they've had a lot of games where they haven't had their full spine, their best available spine on the field. And it makes a difference, when you get Mitch Kenny out there with Talangi, who they've settled on with their 6, Edwards and Cleary, and you have those 5 players play for Penrith. They've won the majority of the games they've played when those 5 have been on the field. This is going to be a big game. We're not going to get a better chance. Well, it's been the best chance we've had in a very long time. And that's not just because of our ladder position. That's because of the origin toll that it's had on Penrith Panthers. But that's not taking anything away from us. I know we've had 3 buys, and this is our long run home. But when you're sitting there in a game, round 17, Thursday night against the 4-time premiers, and you look back at us with our wins, 11 wins, 2 losses, 13 games, 3 buys. In those 11 wins, there's numerous wins where we're missing numerous amounts of players. Broncos, we had a pretty good side in, but that was just a nightmare performance, that first half. Second half, we dominated them, just doing what we do. We just got to work and still thought we could win the game, right? They still thought they were going to win that game. That's what people need to understand. That the way they were playing that last 10, they thought they were going to win it. Old Montoya drops a couple late after doing a lot of work in the game, heavy-footed in the rain. But his 150th game, Marcelo Montoya, 150 games. Many would have thought that he'd never get to that. And that's why you got to respect any player who gets to 100 games, let alone 150. And, being a first grader for 150 games. And since coming to the Bulldogs, his win record is 11 wins and 2 losses. So he's doing something right. Let's get behind him. G'day, Scary. Welcome. Go the mighty Bulldogs. Yeah, so McLean is getting better and better, and so is Talangi. And look, they're putting their shoulders in. They're tackling with their shoulder. They're having a crack. They're not afraid. But when they get tired, and that's going to be look, I think the Dogs have got a strategy to go out here and play as hard and fast as they've played this year. And they're going to go the full 80 minutes again, expecting to win. And look, I'm confident, and I'm rarely confident in a game of rugby league when it comes to our Bulldogs due to what's happened in the last 8 years. So we're not going to get a better chance. Forget about all the superstition stuff. We're on top of the ladder for a good reason, and the Bulldogs are going to take the referee out of play, going to win the ruck, and there'll be times when we're under sufferance, and this is where it's all going to come together. Now, I know they've got a lot of players who've played games together. Both they've got young players which have all come in together that have that connection, and they've been playing in the top 30 and training with the top 30, similar sort of style, similar pathway. But our Bulldogs guys have this really, it's almost an unnatural connection, and it's happened quickly. Like, this is quick. Last year was ultra quick. This year is just an enhancement of that, and just seeing that progression. As I said, our back three going from making, in 2023, I think, an average of 260 metres to be leading the comp with our back three in 2025 in our contribution, right? So average contribution and top 10 in the last since 2014 in back threes. But it's come off the back of a lot of possession, right? So we're doing the right stuff. There's other teams that get better. If you do it on an average, you get better. If you base it on 150 play the balls, they're doing it, each team the same amount of possession. We slip to about 6th, and the Roosters are well out in front. So it just goes to show you that possession factor is so important. And it's no surprise that the Bulldogs, the Panthers, the Warriors are right up there, top 4, top 5 in all these statistics for 2025. And it's based off holding the ball. It's based off the work they do without the ball and the pressure they put teams under, and where we get to play the majority of our football, which is we're playing 47% of the match in the opposition's half, which, is just frightening for a lot of sides. And we're actually spending a lot more time in the 20 and scoring more points than a lot of other sides in the red zone, but we're spending a lot longer there to get it, if that makes sense. So there's been times where we've gone 3 sets, haven't scored, hasn't thrown us, hasn't worried us, kept going, kept running it back. We saw against the Roosters, they compounded. We saw against Newcastle, they compounded. The Rabbits, they compounded. They all fell apart. And the only sides that really went 80 minutes with us all year were probably the Dolphins. And I'm not going to say the Rabbits, because I believe the Rabbits, they got that leg up the field off 11 penalties. G'day, Lucas. Welcome. We'll blitz the Panthers this week. I was so impressed by the fact that they beat the Warriors without their origin players. Yeah, and I had a feeling they would too. Look, I told a couple of people, I just felt this was one of those games, like the baby Panthers would stand up, that their origin players couldn't go. Would have been a real commitment there. And look, the Warriors weren't bad. I didn't think the Warriors were that bad. I know the coach was pretty pissed off. I think there was a bit of head mental problems there with the Panthers. And that could happen to the Bulldogs as well. I hope it doesn't, but it could. Because you've got this, scenario where we've got all these players that have come from there. The systems are very similar. And they're basically, they own the rights to the game. They wrote the script, and we're it's like we've got the remake, and the remake's better. Well, let's hope. You got to win 5 premierships to be better. But yeah, they were good, Joby. They were very, very good, and some of the tries they got were just through on the back of their determination and commitment. those young guys, and their Origin players are going to be so driven to want to repay the faith, and that's what's always worked for teams. When I used to remember it with the baby Broncos, it was always a danger period for the Broncos and players after Origin. They get to hit this flat spot, and they'd have like 8 players playing Origin or 9 quite often, and those baby Broncos would just get 2 out of the 3 wins or whatever, and that used to really inspire the guys coming back. And quite often, if they ever backed up any of those rep players, they played the house down 2 or 3 days later after Origin, and that's something it's hard to sustain. But us Bulldogs, we sat there and we're giving 3 to 4 to 5 players to Origin, and other players coming into camps and all that sort of stuff. It's something we've got to learn because we haven't done it for a long time. And even when we've been successful, it's been rare we've had more than 2 or 3 maximum at any time as Bulldogs playing in Origin. So we'll talk a bit about Origin because it just shits me the narratives going around from absolute novices that write articles like they're experts. And I wish they were experts. I wish that they would do such a good job that podcasters wouldn't even be needed. But they don't. They can't even predict what a team will look like. They just, they still haven't got it through their heads that the game is a best 17 that starts, not a best 13. They haven't got it through their heads that if a player's starting off the bench doesn't mean that they're not good enough or they're worse than someone who's starting. They've just got a different role. And it's rather frustrating hearing all the crap. Daniel Saluka Fafita hasn't started off the bench all season. Yet apparently was going to go to the bench today. I read there was another article that came out on Yahoo as well, which was passed to me today, saying Curtis Morin's already been given an immediate release to the Titans, and he's named at 19. This is this type of crap that goes on in the media. Zion Mayuu saying we're shopping him around or allowing him to find himself another place because it hasn't gone the way both parties would have wanted at this stage. But they're saying because Cameron Serrato hasn't given him an opportunity. It's like there's a whole group of coaches there who decide who gets these opportunities and who's ready and who's not. And if they've said he's not ready, well, he's not getting an opportunity. But, it's just like wars where they say one person is responsible for the wars. Ridiculous. Panthers say young Warriors lost Metcalf during the game. Yeah. Ciro might mix the game plan up a bit. Well, I think there will be there'll be definitely some plays put on that the Panthers may not have got to see us use this year. And I don't know if they're going to pull them out just to try and put some scoreboard pressure on. I think Panthers will be looking to put scoreboard pressure on because and be looking to hold on. I think they're going to come out all guns blazing. Moses Leota is going to be a nutcase, Liam Martin. And I think we'll see a lot of sting in the Panthers' defence to start this match. And I'm expecting the Bulldogs to do what they do, driving teams back. We drive a lot of teams back. That's why we have the best defence when it comes to restricting teams off every play the ball that they have. And we're also the team that has the least amount of conceded meters off missed tackles. All these things are because of the way we get numbers in and drag players back. Not too many teams are doing that to us. I think you'll find the Penrith Panthers will be looking to do that. They know their structures and systems and they're very, very similar. But it's not like for like Canterbury have their own thing going, and I've seen a number of tries that we score that other teams don't score, but the Nathan Cleary factor, if his leg's all right and he's kicking the ball accurately, his kicks were way off in Origin. But if he gets accuracy on his kicks, they're just really dangerous. So it's going to be the keen game. We'll talk about how these teams are going to be utilised. Welcome, D. Good to see you, brother. Jeff Rowe being named on the extended bench, do you think it's an indication that Jeff Rowe's jumped above Wilson as the next winger up? I'm not sure, mate. Potentially. It may sound like that, but it's probably also an opportunity as a reward for being selected in the under-19s Origin side, doing quite well, getting just to maybe he comes into 18th or 19th man. And then maybe that might be what they're thinking, and let some of those other youngsters in New South Wales Cup actually, practice with the team. And I think it'll be a massive game in New South Wales Cup coming against Penrith. So they probably would just want Wilson training with that. I don't know if Wilson will be with the top 30 or not, or if they're going to have Wilson training with that New South Wales Cup side. So there's lots of different things that they can do. Mitch Woods getting giving him a little bit more of a carrot to say, look how close you are. It's all about the mind as well as reward and recognition. But yeah, we're getting to the business end of the season. They'll want to have teams in contention in New South Wales Cup and Jersey Flegg. We're going to have to win games. The top 5 sides in both those comps are, especially the top 2 or 3 look way better than the rest. So we've got to make sure that we set ourselves away from the pack. I know it's not the be all and end all, but it's getting to that time of year and where you want to sort of have it worked out who are the people who are next in line. We've got this big long run home. You want teams fluent together and that sort of stuff. And it'll be a lot less volatile, I believe. And we saw Ron Massey have a win on the weekend. They faded. They led 30-6 at half time, won 34-28. They scored a try late to get a bit of breathing space and then held on. But yeah, the fade outs in our young guys in the younger grades led again in Jersey Flegg, led 16-6 against the ladder leading Raiders, which are a really good side, and got run down 24-16. Full respect for Marcello. We have a bad record against most teams of late as we're in a long-term rebuild post-Hasler. None of the recent records should concern anyone. Look, honestly, history has no relevance, but we know in rugby league it just keeps raising its ugly head, doesn't it? And I think that whilst we've got a completely brand new team, there's no one really in our team who have just suffered dominance from any side. So I get what you mean. It's more of a dominance on the fan base than the actual players. So you make 100% sense. I still do believe though that there's a lot of respect there and there's a lot of rivalry there, and it's definitely something our boys want to tick. Now, while I'm expecting a win, if they go out there and we do our best, I expect us to run away with it. But still, I won't be using that as the absolute benchmark. The benchmark will be playing consistent rugby league that makes us really hard to beat and winning, 75 to 80% or more of our games on the run home before the semis. That'll be the most important thing as far as I'm concerned. Timmy, do you think our strength might be the bench against the Panthers? Well, let's get them up side by side so you can see them. So let's get them up. All righty. So our bench, Kurt Mann, Harry Hayes, Josh Curran, Lachlan Galvin. Now, I think the only possible changes to our side would be the addition of Kurt Mann to number 13 and Bailey Hayward back to 14. But I honestly believe the strength of our bench is much more superior when Kurt Mann comes off it. You know, Bailey has been starting for the last few games, and there's probably been an observation that he hasn't been as effective with his passing, and there's been occasions where it's looked a bit clunky with the team in the start of our games. But I think that's all part and parcel of developing players and developing him in that role. And I think he'll be a lot better against the Panthers, who will be looking to put a whack on him. You know, like Isaiah Papali went to the West Tigers on $750,000 a season from the Eels, a side that come runner up in the comp. Come from the Warriors initially and was considered one of the best edge back rowers in the comp. Hasn't set the world on fire, struggled to be in this side, but he has moments in games where he is really classy and strong. And I think this back row battle is just mouth-watering. Martin against Kickow, 2 former teammates, and Preston versus Papali. I'm looking forward to that. You know, the locks sort of they come together occasionally. But, yeah, Leota versus Max King. Like, Moses Leota has a real ability to get on top of his opposition front row. I haven't seen him lose since 2021. I haven't really seen him lose a battle when there's been one sort of out there. So Saluka Fafita we're gonna need him big time. Mitch Kenny hits like an absolute animal. He's like another prop out the way he defends. And we know Isaiah Yeo just works his ass off. Like, there's no real weaknesses. You've got to, how do you limit Brian To'o? You kick to Jenkins, and then To'o takes the next hit up. You know, this is what we're going to do. I think, like, Dylan Edwards will be looking for a big game. He's been a little bit out of sorts. So I'm expecting us to target him with big kicks. We need to get up the field. We really do. And they've got to use variation to do that, I believe. If they just take it up, you know, off the kickoff, front rower, and then, you know, it goes out to Carraz for the second hit up. Third hit up will be Saluka Fafita or King, whoever didn't take it. Then it'll probably go to Kickow or Preston, and then it'll be Connor Tracy in a kick. I think we might see something a bit different at times, especially if they try to get us pinned, which is going to be what they're going to be aiming for. Look, this is semi-final football right now. It started. This is it. Get excited, guys. Like, I know I don't have to tell you that because you already are, and you probably just want to talk about it and think about it for the next. You know, we're going to be spent. We're going to play our game before we get there, guys. Joby, interesting to see Woods in the 20. Yeah, I think it's recognition, and it's also just to put that pressure on the to let the likes of Birdo and Toby and Galvin know that he's there, and there's a definite plan for him to play in those halves at some point, as much as I think he should be looking to play fullback. It was when New South Wales are down at half time, Woods was actually copping a fair bit of flack from supporters. From some of the places where I was watching chat groups unfold through Instagram and other places. Oh, he's not doing much. You know, he ran the ball a lot. He was a bit frustrated. Things were a bit clunky. There were some good moments, you know. They got that ball to get him to the lead, which was a nice, beautiful short pass. But I do sort of feel, and this is nothing against Woods or anyone, but I think the fanfare is dangerous because it's like, it can be sort of run-of-the-mill stuff, and that's probably what the Dogs want him to be doing, just going through the doing all the stuff that he's got to do and nailing all the little things in games and not being the sensational match winner every moment of the game, trying to set it up and just get his muscle memory being really consistent at all the little things. But then when he does something brilliant and the rest of it could have been a little bit sort of just average or normal, it's like people forget about all that and just go to the brilliant thing, and just start saying he's the hero and he's the prodigy and that. Like, I think he will be, but I just want him to have the opportunity to do it. And it's the same with Galvin. We've got to let these guys develop and go through good and bad and not crucify them for it publicly like a lot of fans do. And that's the hard thing, but there's enough good players in our team which share enough of the moments, and share the load, and there's enough variation in what we do in the team across the 17 and from other players that come in over the season, which sort of it just doesn't put the focus on one person all the time, which is really good. I like that. Like you'll hear fans watching going, seeing a game where Critters had 2 runs and the game's tied or we're losing. They're like, why isn't Critter getting the ball? And then like that Raiders game, where's Critter? And then second half, he bang, 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 bang. It's I think there is a lot, and I've said it quite a few times. There's a lot of us just doing what we've got to do to win games, and then producing more when we need to produce more, especially in games where we're probably not as favoured to win, or like games against the Sharks and even the Raiders away and even the Roosters. And this week against the Panthers, there'll be a lot of teams expecting us to lose this match. There'll be a lot of fans and people expecting us to lose. And I think the Dogs are going to surprise a lot of people. They should have surprised a lot of people already, but I think they will really make people understand where this club's going come Thursday. The strength is we should be able to play at that high intensity for longer, 100%, Paul. Panther, many young player there, and best players are probably just getting through at the moment. Yeah, they're carrying injuries, no doubt. And this is what I'm saying. Like, if we've got players that are a little bit overdone as well and a bit overcooked, but I think that's going pretty well. Like, there's some players in our side who've had quite a bit of time on the sidelines through suspension and whatever else. So they're a bit fresher than they would be. Preston, for example, Curran. So I expect to see them guys at 100%. Kickow and Critter and that, they're broken. They're so tough, those guys. They play through a lot of shit. We expect it to hold up for longer. Yep. Our patience is our strength, and that is also the strength of the Panthers, and it's been the strength of the Warriors this season. And I'll tell you a team that hasn't been their strength, the Roosters and the Broncos. They resort to playing too much footy. But both of those sides have enough quality to win the comp. 100%. And I agree with Gus Gould. If Cleary's out, Adam Reynolds should play 7. Just a logical choice. Not Burton and Luai. While Burton deserves it, does anyone deserve it, I agree. I think Adam Reynolds is probably the second best 7 in the comp after, like for Origin for New South Wales, after Nathan Cleary. And I suppose Moses goes pretty good. When you remember the Broncos had 11 players in Origin, yeah, you're right. I think 11 was the maximum they had, or even 12 maybe one year. That's ridiculous, eh? When is the effing transfer window? So look, players can leave up until June 30th. So we've got 6 days left. There was another story saying Dogs are trying to sell Sexton to the Tigers. See, look, that was just bullshit, and I was really wasn't happy with one of my mates for posting that on his group. We didn't post it at all Things Bulldogs because it's just rubbish, absolute rubbish. It's just an after-the-fact thing. They want to keep this narrative going, like this Yahoo article today, which was just basically quoting News Corp stories all day. Just wanted to create the narrative that Lachlan Galvin's signing has forced players like Curtis Moran out, saying he's gone immediately for 2 years to the Titans. Zion Mau'u, and then Latu Finau, they talked about that and how it's forced some players out, but it's all Galvin's fault, apparently. They want to burn this narrative as long as they can, and they will. Any chance they get. Good-looking lineup on both teams. 100%, brother. Martin will try and dominate kicks and play the aggressor. I'm sure Ciro and Critter will be ready for this. Yeah, you got to trust that they will, bro. 100%. Lucas, Kurt Mann's a gun, runs hard, tackles like a beast, straightens out the attack, and one of the best number 14s in the comp. Well, he is, and he proved that. Robbie Basher, welcome, Robbie. Good to see you, mate. I find it interesting that they don't have Alamotti up against his old club. Well, they might, Rob. That's why he's at 18th man, and I think he will. I reckon he'll play because I just think he will. Hey, T, how you going, mate? Welcome. Haven't been able to show our full potential for a few games now. No, that's true. I don't think we've shown it all year, to be honest. We've had some moments for sure where it's been nice, but it's far from good. Like, I really believe in that South Sydney game. They wanted to go out there, those guys, and just and put on stuff straight away. Like, and they went about their work. We look so dominant with and without the ball for that 28-minute period. Had we not got the stoppage, I think a lot of people agree that we would have went way on with it. We wanted to put them under scoreboard pressure, make them feel inadequate, get them throwing Hail Marys, and then just making them pay for the rest of the match. So, I think the coach knows what they're doing in regards to this, and I think Penrith are going to cop a Bulldog side with the intention of going out there and doing a little bit more than they have in some other games. Like, they're going to treat it like we're playing a competition heavyweight and it's a semi-final. It's a must-win game. I 100% believe it. You'd think that that's the mentality of every game is obviously to go out there and win 100%. And the point I'm trying to make is that there's game plans and then there's game plans. There's game plans where it's all about you and how you go about it. I reckon there would have been more video. There would have been things for the guys to think about and know, but at the same time trying to keep the message simple. And there'd be a lot of moves that they've worked on and perfected that they're going to put in place, and then there'll be something. And I reckon the Panthers will be ready for a lot of it, but there'll be something there, I think, on the weekend which will look a little bit different and hopefully be executed. That's what I'm expecting. We saw it against the Sharks. There was, I don't think that was a mistake. Preston sort of running to the line and then catching the ball behind him and then pulling it through. I don't think that was. It happened twice, and then it happened on the opposite side of the field on the right edge against the Rabbits. We didn't score off it, but we made that play again. I think there was intention in those games to put scoreboard pressure on, and they're using different sort of shape and different moves. And I also felt that South Sydney game, we were a lot flatter in the way we were running our attack, which is a little bit higher risk. But you just see the team was just such a straight line and all connected, early balls. And for I haven't seen Montoya catch a ball that close with people that close to him and get round him as easy as that. And it's just all come down to the time and probably also that it was early in the game, so everyone was full energy. But yeah, there wasn't as much depth to our attack or as much reliance on the big out the back shape to everything. So it was good to see that as well. Wet weather, Origin players out, injuries, suspensions. That's what we've been dealing with, man, the whole time. What's the November 1st deadline? So November 1st is when you can sign. So after November, someone who's off contract in 2027. So basically, you can start talking to other clubs on November the 2nd, even though you're contracted for. So November 2025 this year, you're Reid Marnie, right? Let's forget that he's got permission to negotiate. Let's say he's not allowed to negotiate until November because his contract finishes in December 2026. Okay? Or at the end of the season, whenever the season finishes, after the grand final, right? So he can actually start negotiating for her new team for 2027 in November of this year. So they've got all that time. June 30 is when you have to have your top 30 organised for that year. And it's at that time where you can let people leave their contract and go to another club or retire or whatever, as long as it's all done by June 30. After June 30, if you lose a player out of your top 30, you can't get another one in there until next year. I don't think. Yeah. And you've got to have your 30 players named by June 30. Bit of a mouthful. No, I don't agree. Reynolds, it's choked. Every big game he's been in, Qatar should play. No, completely disagree, Joby. 100% disagree with you, my friend. There's no way we should be putting a kid into New South Wales Origin side again that has and Adam Reynolds has had to play against the best players in the probably like all immortals was when he played. He played Origin against immortals that had won 8 in a row. He wasn't the dominant half, no. Not the dominant half of the comp. Right? We had teams with Paul Gallen, Greg Bird, Mitchell Pearce, Jared Mullen was picked under 20. There's no way that I would be putting a kid who has never led a team to a final series. Obviously not won a comp. Not played internationals. Or he's actually played for Tonga. Went all right, and his ceiling's so far away. I just think it's not doing him a service at all. And I think they've got to protect these kids. I know they brought Brad Fittler in really young into New South Wales, but it's different to being the manager of the game, the number 7. And look, if he's coming in with, it's different when Alfie Langer comes in with Wally Lewis. And Alfie wasn't 19, by the way. He looked like a little kid, though. He was coming in with some of the biggest, with Australian players, the best in their position, the captain of the Australian team, Wally Lewis. Although Brett Kenny, many would say he was better, and I'd say Terry Lamb was better, but according to judges, yeah, Katoa, no way. I'm not saying he can't handle it. I just think it's an absolute huge risk for him personally. And I think he will his career will go a lot further and get a lot more money if he doesn't have to be showing up on that stage. Game 3, decider. Yeah, I haven't seen him. And remember, like they just put on 150 points in 3 weeks. I felt there was merit in their loss on the weekend. I knew that Newcastle were going to be strong because of getting all their players back. Bradman Best is a winner. So there wasn't. I saw merit in their loss. I feel that they tried for 80 minutes, and they are missing players as well. The Dolphins, and had players backing up, as did the Knights. But Katoa, there's no way in the world he should even be in the discussion, in my opinion. He's not achieved anything yet. I think we can't. I think that's just handing a jersey away way too easily. And all the, I'm not. Andrew Johns. Let's be honest. He gets the majority of his stuff wrong as a commentator. He's pretty good with the injuries. If Johnsy says he's hit and miss sometimes, but yeah, he gets them right a lot of the time, and he's got so much knowledge. But he'll never be a great coach because he doesn't know how to coach his own natural ability. I think what Katoa has going for him is he has the ability to defend really tough, and he's got that size. And as he becomes more and more of a man, like he's going to be someone to who may lead New South Wales to numerous victories. Have no doubt about that. But not yet. Not yet. And if Adam Reynolds comes in, stuffs it, you can have that as a win, brother. But honestly, I'd listen to Phil Gould on that. I think Reynolds has the best halfback style and would be a good offset for Jerome Littlewhite, Matt Burton at number 6. I really do. He can kick long, he can kick goals. Everything Gus said, I agree. So, Isaiah Katoa, too young. I'll just ram it home. G'day, Loss. How you going, mate? Geez, not liking the noise about Zion, mate. Ooh, media saying he's getting booted. But I'm also hearing his manager wants to test the waters for a first grade spot elsewhere. Look, mate, it's been about 2.5 months. So he's been there 4 months, but about after 7 or 8 weeks, it was basically known he wasn't, unless we had massive injuries, he wasn't going to be playing first grade at the Dogs this year, or maybe ever. He's just not hitting the markers at training. I feel like I can say that. Probably shouldn't. But yeah, and it's definitely it's got not an attitude problem or anything like that. He's a team player. He's connected with everyone. They want to, they all having a great time together. He wants to do well. You go and watch his games, it's like he really struggles sometimes. You can see the frustration in wanting to do what he wants to do. He's winding up. He's hitting the ball hard. He's hitting hard in his tackles. He's putting in a lot of effort. He's just not. It's just not flowing for him in our system. And the manager and the club are quite happy for him to try and see what he can do. But in the meantime, he'll keep playing and getting time and keep working on his game and keep working on his fitness and keep trying to connect with the side that he's playing in, whether it's New South Wales Cup or Ron Massey. He went to Ron Massey and made him look small. I think that was our first win, or we looked like we're going to win the game and then lost it at the end by a point or something. But he made a huge difference to our team in that grade. And in New South Wales Cup, he's had some good moments for sure. But yeah, it just hasn't worked out for him. Robbie, thanks for the shout out, mate. Love the channel. Thank you so much, brother. Zion needs to cool his heels and have a pre-season with us. I don't think it's about that, Paulie. People want to make shit up from narratives. Narratives are just our little minds taking a wander on what we think and assume. There's facts out there. There's Chinese whispers. I do get some whispers, but I can trust where the whispers are coming from, and they're always with the best intentions. So, if it's going to hurt someone, I'm not going to say it. But that's a narrative. The narrative is, the facts are, his heels are cool. But if he's not going to get an option and there's a club that can use his services, our club's not going to stand in his way. It's a mutual It's all about these players who come to our club getting the opportunity, and they're still the whole time trying to work on themselves and get better. Toby Sexton, all these players included. Would you look at getting Sloan from the Red V? You can't teach speed, but you can teach him hard work and D. Well, look, I think he had Anthony Griffin there and Shane Flanagan. And whilst people have got issues with those coaches, and I've had positive things and negative things to say about both of those coaches, you would think that would have already been part of the discussion and part of his development. He's been made aware of that. And there's quite a few leaders in that side now. Whether I can't stand the Dragons, but Gutho and all these people are experienced, and apparently Raymond Fatala Mariner's really respected there now. And there's sort of taken a lot of learning from his situation at the Bulldogs to reinvent himself as that leader, or to really evolve himself even further through that experience. And so there's people there, and look, a lot of their games were close losses too. But yeah, I think, I don't know, for the wing spot. It's a good question, Robbie. It is a good question. I think he's a definite talent and someone that, he's a fullback. He's another fullback. He is a fullback. Plays all right on the wing. I think the question has been on him, has he got the heart to go the distance? And while that's not a nice thing to say about people, I think that's what the questions have been. And I'm not sure he's on our radar, to be honest. Yeah, but Paul, I know he hasn't had a preseason, bro, but that don't matter. He had a Warriors preseason, and Warriors are going pretty good. Look, we're connected with the Warriors, bro. Like, Gus has got heaps of relationships there. There's a reason why he come to the Dogs. There's a reason why Stephen Crichton didn't speak to any other side but the Bulldogs. There's a reason why Billy Army Kickout, the day he was told, the next night he's getting a photo taken with Gus and Trent Barrett at the Bulldogs. You know what I mean? There's a lot of connection there. On another note, did you watch Ray Dibbs going to be the PNG chairperson or CEO or something? And I think the head chairperson, the head of the committee, like he was at the Bulldogs, and then they were asking Gus to talk about it, and Shamus is asking Gus to talk about it, and Gus is like, yeah, he's very passionate and very well connected. Very well connected. I just thought that was hilarious. Very funny. Paulie, I agree with your narrative about not having the preseason, but he had a preseason with the Warriors. He come across to us. He's been there. Our coaches and trainers know. They know. It's not a case of Zion basically saying, you just don't know what you're talking about, I want out. It's nothing like that at all. It's more of a case of, look, we were hoping you'd get to this sort of level a bit faster, and while you're here and you're contracted right now, you can keep working towards that. And I'm sure they're working towards those goals and all those sort of things. But at the end of the day, if both sort of feel that that's not working for them, it's bye-byes and thanks for coming. Have a good time. Yeah, we don't know if he hasn't done the work, bro. He's doing the work. He's just not doing it to our expectation. And that's the difference. And I know a preseason a preseason with us, you're right, would make a difference to him. And some people need 2 or 3 preseasons to get right. But I think they know. He come across because he did play on the edge, and Gus loves his big edge back rowers. If they can play an edge, means they can go further and go longer. But he's not going further and going longer. And he was in a squad which are up near the top of the table with us that are coached. What Webster's done since going there and since Gus went there, the whole focus has been on work ethic. Remember that they couldn't do that for 2 decades, the Warriors. They couldn't get in the trenches and just battle teams for 80 minutes. They've been doing that this year. And it doesn't surprise people because when someone like James Fisher-Harris goes there, he might not get the best stats, but the influence that he has is massive. And you got Webster as part of that house that Gus built. You got the recruitment strategy, which is based on that as well. So it's still good times for the Warriors. Get a dog up, you big Roo. There you go, bro. Warriors Circle saying it was kind of the lazy one, hence why Webby has kept Halasima and Lamoaga and let Zion go. Shades of Franklin Pele, maybe. Yeah, well, he was behind those guys there, Loss. Simple as that. I don't know if it was because he's lazy. He's just not as fit and doesn't have the ability to do his best over a sustained period as long as those guys. And Halasima is playing on the edge, which makes him an absolute huge investment for that side. He's going to be worth a lot of money, that guy, and we saw it the first time he played us last year, nearly running, 80 metres to score. Qatar's played big for Tonga. I'm not talking about his origin. I'm talking about the grand final he played in 2023. Oh, Adam Reynolds in the grand final for 2023. Yeah, bro. It was a pretty stressful last 20 minutes for Adam Reynolds in that grand final. I will say that team had done so much work in the first half against a side that was just prepared lucky to lead 6-0 when it did, and was just prepared to keep testing the waters and outlasting its opposition. And Broncos come out with that energy in the second half. We saw what happened, but Penrith, through a lot of stuff they did, Reynolds put one out on the full. He was doing some short drop kicks that were going out on the full as well. Whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, I don't write a person off because of that. He's also won a grand final in 2014 with Souths. And he's also had some massive moments. Adam Reynolds' biggest issue is his injuries. He just can't stay on the paddock. That's his problem. But yeah, I can't support Katoa, bro. I can't. He's never really been a running threat, but I think that's what Gus is more talking about. If Adam goes out there and just manages the game and let little Burton run, and then that will take pressure off, and then Reynolds can actually run at a time when you're not expecting it. And he does pop up occasionally with some of those plays. He normally does a hammy trying to do it. Look, I have a love-hate relationship with Adam Reynolds, but I just think he, as a halfback, with what New South Wales will need, is that I know we talk about, straighten up the attack. I feel Adam cops it in the ribs a lot. That's why he's got a lot of injuries as well. I feel we know what Katoa is going to be. It's just too early. I don't think it's right. Yeah, he's a better player than he was when he was at Tonga. And look, I was watching him last year, and as I said, there was periods where he'd do nothing for 25 minutes, and it was by design. But he's been managed to the minute. Absolutely one of the best coached kids I've seen through the system at Penrith to what they've done with him at the Dolphins. He's just bloody phenomenal. And they knew he had all the talent as well. but he hasn't earned Origin. His team aren't in the 8. He's only 19. Let him develop. His ceiling is so much higher. There's some greats in the game who are saying he's the shit, but you'll find they're also like, well, we've got to talk about the narrative, but none of them believe he's going to be picked. I don't think Laurie Daly's picking this kid. There's too much on the line. It's too much to risk. If he goes and picks a 19-year-old and it goes fucking pear-shaped and they lose a decider in a series, which they should have won, it's one thing to go to your tried and trusted. It's the player's fault. But if he goes out there and picks Isaiah Katoa and it backfires, that's going to take some balls. Because not only could it potentially be bad on that kid's confidence, and I don't think it would be because he seems like he's pretty fucking resilient and tough to me. But yeah, too much of a risk, buddy. Too much. I can't see Laurie doing that. He couldn't drop Josh Dugan for fuck's sake. Laurie's pretty loyal, and we know that. He's come into a system that was working. I felt that system was still progressing, and I still feel that, and I also agree with Gus here, without that penalty count advancing them up the field, just like the Bulldogs in the Souths game, without them getting out of their own end through penalties, they're not getting those opportunities to score 4 tries. No way. Yeah, I think we keep Isaiah Katoa. I'd even like to see him coming through as a 6 with Nathan Cleary, because I think he could do that. He's not even. He's probably like the when I talk about us Bulldogs not being at our best. He's not at his potential yet. Like in 7 years, can you imagine how good he's going to be? We don't need to do that. I think if it's a situation where we get flogged in game 1, like with 13 men on the field, no one sent off, and Queensland look amazing. You got, if we lose this series and then lose game 1 next year, that's when we say, okay, who's the youth? We go and pick 3 or 4 players that we're going to run with for the next 5 years. They're going to be superstars. And hopefully someone like Katoa's already made the finals with the Dolphins, maybe won a game or 2. Who knows? He might take them to the grand final this year. Any team could win it. And he might prove you right. Happy to be wrong. I just believe on this one that, yeah. Anyway, it's enough about him. Just going through a few of these guys because we've been talking too much. Put him at 18th, you reckon, and then switch him late. Yeah. I think that'd have to be an injury, or it'd have to be that. Oh, you could do it within the hour before, couldn't you? Yeah. Oh. Yeah, well, we'll see, mate. I don't think Laurie's going to do it, bro. So I don't think it'll ever be known, because I don't think Laurie's going to call on that kid and put that pressure on him. I just think it's too much. Origin's too big at the moment. And I just think it just makes it way too hard on him. Because if that fails, yeah. I miss RFM, to be honest, dude. Was a doggy in and out. It's a shame that injury happened, because in a struggling doggies team, he's one of the shining lights, to be honest, back then. Yeah, the problem is that they named him the captain of, like, the club sort of captain, but not the game day captain. And then when players come to him sort of whinging about workloads and stuff and whatever else, he actually sort of went as a representative for those guys. And they were all just labelled Polynesian, which was bullshit. And this is what I hate when people start, saying it's, you see it on some of the forums, just racism. And it does annoy me. And I think that because he didn't just say, hey, guys, if you want to, we're on the bottom of the ladder. If we want to be top of the ladder, we got to do things what we're told. We've got to do things harder and longer. He needed to lead in that example. Look, he's a great guy, real joker with a crowd, was loved by everyone, and he was playing on the edge. Now, he also didn't really like and sort of didn't understand why he was playing in the middle. Now, he had played lock earlier in his career, but his position was that right edge, or left edge, actually. He was on the left edge. And Kikau obviously took that from him. And Preston went past him because he was going to swap to the right edge. They're actually training for that. But they're like, well, you're going to play through the middle because this is the scenario we're going to have. You're the right height and size, and you can play an edge and play 80 minutes. So we want you to actually come on and play the middle. I remember the first game he come on through the middle, he was shot after about 15 minutes. The next game, his defensive effort was much better. And I remember it clearly because I scored him a 7 out of 10. And I said, that was actually against the Storm when we beat the Storm. His defensive effort in that game was so much better, and his minutes and his effort were great. But he never played well after that at all. And then he, obviously had that injury, which took a long time to get back from, and he didn't get back until the end of 22. But yeah, it was a lot to do with not wanting to play in the middle or really struggling with that change. And then, struggling with the leadership stuff and watching players like Jacob Preston come in from reserve grade as a centre to playing on the edge and being part of the team straight away. With all these players, experienced players like Davey and players like Torpenay, the next man up, and all these guys, it did create a bit of a head fuck for some of these people and these players, and made it hard on them, and they expressed their displeasure, and they're no longer with the club. So there you go. Best of luck to Ray Dibb. Yeah, that's it, bro. Similar to when New South Wales gave Mitchell Pearce an opportunity in 2019 and decided to redeem himself, I would go over Reynolds, give him the opportunity to prove he's a big game player. Nice way to put it. I actually feel, Adam Reynolds against us, that was the best half of footy I'd seen. And why was he dominant? Because they had field position. They obviously got leg ups with penalties, and everything he did turned to gold. His kicks were all on point. He's a player who has the experience and will and skill to do what's got to be done, and he's a leader. Is he at his best at the moment? Probably not. But he's in a side which is failing miserably across the paddock in restricting teams' meters, defensively as a group, sharing the workload. The back three making meters has been really poor, and Jesse Arthurs goes pretty good, and they had Cobbo there doing pretty good. Reece struggles with the meters. He's more of the playmaker than the big, run it out and get 20, 30 meters. He's more likely to skip around or throw a pass. He's just not going to go and get himself broken 19 times a game like Connor or Dylan Edwards. And so their starts aren't getting off best. And then their big boys have to do all this work. When they don't have to do the work and they're able to use those big guys effectively in attack, like Huss and Carrigan in attack, or in that middle third into the 20, it just creates so much momentum that it's so hard to stop when they just play their natural game and use their speed and their skill. And that's what makes them so dangerous. But when Carrigan and Huss are bringing that ball out from their own end, whereas at Canterbury, it's always you're getting 3 rucks or 4 rucks from the backs until we get into position, and we don't use our forwards until we're in the other side. So they're burning the candle at both ends with their forwards. if they don't change that style, I think they struggle to go on a big run. But anyway, I need to head off, hit the sack up the doggies. See you, Scotty. Did you watch Under 9 and Orange Cheese? That Oliver Smith bloke's beast didn't even realise he was a doggy. Yeah, he had a wonderful game. Yeah, really good, really strong. He nearly scored that try too at the start. That's all right, Jay. Hey, this is what it's about, bro. I like the fact that you don't just say what you've got to say, you actually say why. And you give reasons as to what you're seeing, mate. You're not just carrying a narrative around because someone else said it. You're actually using your own eyes and ideas and providing, validation to what you say through what you see, not through what other people see. And that's how we learn from each other. And, that makes me just watch him even more. It's hard not to when all the fanfare's around him. But, yeah, bro, like that's why we're here. And we do this with respect, not get out there and be absolute tools on social media. We come here and we talk about it, and we don't have to land on the same spot, but we both appreciate where we're coming from, because we are coming from a place. And that's the important thing, bro. 47 hours to go. Let's get the countdown happening. What you talking about? Raymond Fatala Mariner. However, if Cleary is 100%, Laurie Daly will remain loyal to the incumbents. I think if Cleary's 90%, he'll remain loyal. There'll be no change. If Cleary says he can play, he'll be playing. That's the sort of Cleary's already at Andrew John's level when probably in the last 2 years of his career. Before that, he'd be 14 or 9 or trying to pick the best side that they could pick. As always, mate, your knowledge is undisputed. Nah, bro. Hey, you may not be wrong. You may be right, bro. No stress at all, JB. No stress at all. It's good chat. I mean, back and forth. And I've got the ability to keep talking where you've got to type it. It makes it harder. Reece Robson is under an injury cloud. He didn't play on Sunday. Yeah, there's a chance he might not play. Who do we bring into hooker? I think they'll probably go with Appy Coruscant, but young Brayley's been waiting in the wings. That's where they may debut someone. And I would suggest he's been with that Cronulla team, which has gone to a couple of prelims or maybe not a couple of prelims, but been finishing top 4, top 5, ever since Sean Johnson left or before. 3 or 4 years they've been up there. So there we go. Brayley at 9. That could definitely happen. All right, well, let's put my big head on there because it is big. How are we going to beat the Panthers? How are we going to beat them, guys? I think you're not kicking the bloody the Toto, or are you kicking the Brian Toto? Is that what you're doing? Trying to get it to Brian Toto. Let's have a look at the New South Wales Cup. Let's have a look at the New South Wales Cup team before we keep talking about that. So we've got Blake Taff at fullback, Blake Wilson, Jonathan Sewer and Anari Tuwala in the centres, Jethro Rinikama, Joseph Taupa, at number 6, Mitchell Woods at number 7, Sam Hughes, Taniela Otukolo at 9, Lipoi Hotboy at 10, Luke Smith and Louis Grossamy, and Jack Todd making his return in the lock position. Ruben Moyle at 14, Zion Mayu, Jack Underhill, and Hamish Wilson as the 17. So I think there's probably a chance that Jethro may even get to play to be like 18th or 19th man on the Thursday. And whether he has to play or not, they might bring in Hamish Wilson into there and then bring another person into the squad. I probably also want to look at the jersey flag and all that sort of stuff. They probably don't have jersey flag on here. No, they don't. But we're playing the Panthers, and their team looks pretty bloody good as well. So they got Dane Laurie, Nick Murphy, David Farley. David Farley, really good player. Paul Alamotti, Asu Kapoa, Jack Cole, who started the year in first grade, Trent Talau, he's a good little player. Riley Price, Luke Summerton has been doing a good job at the hooker. Matt Eisenhuth, Maverick Geyer, son of Mark, Preston Rickey, who many thought would have been playing a lot more first grade this year, Billy Phillips, Billy Scott, Nico Apolou, Austin Dias, and Harrison Hassett, who's got some big raps on him. So, I really like Taniela Otukolo. I've mentioned him a few times, doing a good job. Looking forward to Sam Hughes' second stint last week. I felt was good in a much important win. Luke Smith had a few errors yet last week, but was there in some important moments. Jack will need the run, that's for sure. And I think you'll find young Jack Underhill will play a lot more minutes this week. But Alex Sami, AK Jones, who did a really good job, I'd say he's going back to flag. Cassius Tia, Fami Tuilalo. Jake Turpin's got a head injury. Curtis Moran not in the side, which would indicate he could be 18th man. And Logan Spinks, not sure what he's doing. Maybe he's having a week off because he played quite well last week. So let's have a look at that. Jersey flag side. Is that showing up for you guys? Make it a bit bigger. Tay Cochran at fullback. Geordie Mazzoni, Sasaya Kafusi, Will Afawalo's back in the team. I don't think he played last week. He might have had an injury or just having I think they've given a couple of guys a rest. Joe Brock, who's done a good job. Cassius T and Alex Conti in the halves. And I think Cassius needs to probably go back to this level for a bit. Struggled in a couple of games. Oliver Smith had that really good game for Queensland. Patrick Young, Sosefu Finau, Logan Spinks back to jersey flag. So they're serious about this game against the Panther. Very, very serious. Jed Reardon, AK Jones, Bailey Myers, Chase Patterson, Patrick Carey, and Malachi Filippo. Kaywin Patterson out this week. Same with Sasai Latini. Some of these players may go back. Bronson Rubin, Daniel Corcoran, they may play Ron Massey this week, which I'll need to look at. They normally don't see that side for days. Kaywin Patterson come from the Warriors. I think he was hooker in the Warriors 2024 Harold Matt side, which come from nowhere. Like, I think they won in Golden Point or something to make the finals. and beat us in the prelim. Only just. So we lost. And we were defending our Harold Mats last year. That's not this year, last year. We lost in the semi-final. And the Warriors went on to win it from absolutely nowhere. And he was one of the good players from there. Got him across to the Bulldogs. So lots to like about all that. Do we have any crowd estimate for Thursday? I haven't really heard it. People are saying they expect the Dogs to sell the crowd out. But, yeah, I'm hoping the Bulldogs get there in massive numbers. I think the Panthers will show up. They'll take the journey. It is a Thursday night, which makes it harder, obviously. It's always a TV game, more so than a crowd game. But I hope there's a heap of Bulldogs there. I want to see it. It's such a good it's so noisy. It comes through on the TV as well at CommBank. Even 11,000 Bulldogs fans there screaming just sound so noisy. I enjoyed the first hit out for the Canterbury. Yeah, that was good to see too. And I actually watched the Harvey Norman women's girls side went around as well. So it'll be playing the same time as the women's NRLW. And that's like the feeder team. So it's like it's now sort of the equivalent of New South Wales Cup, basically, for the women. And they had a 24-0 win, I think 6 tries to 0. There was no goal kicking in the trials. So it was a good day against the Eels. I think if we score more points than them, we should win this one. There we go. Legend. Braulio's been consistent, but his Sharks haven't. That's all we've got to do. Keep it simple. Go out there, score more points than the opposition. That's how we win. Need Galvin to come on early and for Reid to pass to him. Yeah, look, I did some analysis on that and went and watched it again. Galvin actually got more touches than Toby over the whole game. So, he's involved in more across the game than Toby. So maybe our perception was wrong. But look, I don't think we bring Galvin on unless we really need to. I think if there's a bullet we need to shoot in order to get us on track and get us into the game, because things are going the wrong way, you find an opportunity. There'll be a lot of pressure on Toby Sexton, as there is every week. But I think Matty Burton is going to step up and show the world this week why he keeps getting picked for his talent. Not getting to play, but getting picked as one of the best players in New South Wales. And I agree with my great friend here that we do have a few tricks up our sleeve that we haven't rolled out yet. I 100% believe that. It's hard to beat the Panthers because their strength are the same as ours. Pretty much. But we've been doing it better for the season. And I know they've had a lot of adversity and they continually lose players. And the players that have lost coming out of their team are some of our best players, if not our best players. But they've got the ones they wanted to keep. And we've had a lot of adversity this year too. Like, I think we've still used almost as many players as we normally do. And that's been a massive excuse for us. But we're on top of the ladder doing that. The buys have definitely helped us while we've suffered all these suspensions, while we've suffered all these injuries. And now we're down, Satili Tupanua. It's looking pretty good. Wade Egan deserves a nod at 9, I reckon, for New South Wales. I reckon he's definitely in the conversation, 100%. And another Penrith hooker, another Penrith spine player, doing well elsewhere. Dogs love ball and play a lot, and so do they. Yeah, well, that's what it's going to be. Last year, we lost 16-10. First 25 minutes is all I cared about. It's like our trial against the Broncos this year. See, there was more in what I learned from that loss. Being there at the game and seeing Tracy drop some balls in the sun and the wind was really blowing there and watching us sort of hold on and then get punished a few times, I was like, okay. Then I go and watch it on the TV and I'm like, come out of there going, the commentators can say what they want. We played 23, 24 players in that match. They played 30. They had 2 forward packs in play. I said at the start of the season, and our guys treated that like, so we had fatigued players trying to build up some match fitness, going hard against players that were coming on fresh with full of energy. And it was really good for us. And I felt that in that Penrith game last year. I've said that numerous times as well. We went toe-to-toe with them, ball in play, bang, 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 bang. Who was the difference? Nathan Cleary does his hammy. We get to come back into it eventually. We were the ones finishing stronger. And a more confident team, more confident at winning, which we weren't at that point. We hadn't gone on a big run at that point. But we got confidence from some other games. And it's a much different kettle of fish now. This team knows it can win. It knows it's got what it needs to go 80 minutes. It knows what it's coming up against. And we're gonna be keeping that ball in play because that's how we do our best work. And I don't think the Panthers will be trying to concede first. But the team that puts the white flag up first generally goes on to lose. I've seen that in these big games. So the ones feeling the heat first, it's not whether you sort of concede in points. That's not really it. But the ones looking for the sideline, looking for the break, they're looking at their teammates going, oh, they're floundering, I need to give them a break. And if they do that, that's great because they know they can reset and get into it. But generally the way that goes is the other team sniffs blood in the water, right? It's almost sort of like it's like when you take the 2. The other team and go, oh, we'll put them under some scoreboard pressure. Like when you've been trying to score for about 3 or 4 sets and you can't, so then you just take the 2. Bit like that. If we control possession and maintain field position against the Panthers, we will win a close end-to-end game. Offloads to create second phase footy on the edges and in the middle. 1-12 margin for Timmy. Love it. Does Mark Guy have another son that plays? I think, correct me if I'm wrong. I actually don't know. Don't know, mate. I really don't know. I've only ever seen or heard about Maverick. He probably does. One thing to mention here in New Zealand, bro, Dogs are setting up some systems with a few local clubs, which is solid. Usually it's Manly setting route here, but some clubs switched over to the Dogs pathways. Yeah, well, and we've also got the school, which produced Sean Johnson and I think Pulatua and quite a few other really good players. So we've definitely got some pathways happening there for sure. Gavin will come on like last time, 20 minutes ago. Ree will have a spell in Sexton and I. They might just do that. That might be the way they go about things. I really don't know. I think I don't think it's about Galvin, if that makes sense. It's about what we need and when we need it. And not saying you're not saying that either. That's how I reckon it's going to go. And I don't mind that. I don't mind if he doesn't come on at all. If we don't need him to come on and we go out and win the game. It's not about Galvin. It's about how does he help us win? And sometimes that's just by being on standby for an injury or to come on and add something that we're lacking. If there's an ingredient missing in our game and he's the one who can provide it, that's when they bring him on. Gavin will be there for X Factor when defence tired, I reckon. Potentially. Yeah, me too, brother. It's great seeing you again tonight, Joby. And thanks everyone who's been on. Been another good night, guys. I'm really excited. Can't wait to have a look at it all. I've been a little bit disappointed for those still hanging around in the media regarding Max King. I haven't been happy about that at all. He played 25 minutes. He defended his ass off. Before going off, I remember him making 2 or 3 really important one-on-one tackles on his own. He did his job. And you have fuckheads talking about we've got to drop him because he only made 47 metres in 25 minutes. Okay, so if he plays 50 minutes, he makes, 98 metres. Okay. But I can guarantee if he plays in that second half, or if he come on off the bench for the end of that first half and stays on for 30 minutes, I can guarantee you he's making over 100 metres again. It's just the way he was utilising the time of the game. And at the time of the game, it wasn't him giving away the penalties. Right? So they got a leg up and Max King had to defend for 25 minutes and did a good job. Showed how tough and resilient he is. The fools to be saying he's one we've got to drop as a fallout from the game. Well, if that's the case, fucking hell. It just feels like Laurie Daly's coaching again. That's what it feels like. Positive, we only have 2 players on or over age of 30. There you go. I laugh if they picked Terrell Mays. Defence got exposed by the Raiders. Dude was being dragged by horse and tapine everywhere. Max King over him all day. Yeah, I still don't mind Terrell, bro. I know you've said some stuff about him, but I think he's a good player. And Gus reckons he's a good player too. He goes hard, he goes long. But look, I think used in shorter spurts would do a lot better. It's just clickbait journalism crap. King is not going anywhere. Well, I hope not. He should be playing Origin 3, in my humble opinion. What else have we got? So, look, I think the Dogs are going to win this game by 32 points to 6. Wow. There you go. I've said it. 32-6 to the Bulldogs. Get on it. Gamble responsibly. Pick the score. Put 100 on it. Make $1 million. Although the odds they give you on rugby league are ridiculous. No one should bet. Rugby league odds are an absolute sham. Fraudulent. They make money non-stop out of rugby league. And the odds on first try scorer, for example, for some players should be like 400 to 1. But they're not. Big call, but I like it. I'm confident, mate. We have to win this game, and we have to win it big. That's my humble belief. Maybe I'll learn something from making a prediction like that, or hopefully not learning. Hopefully I'm gloating all the way to the next podcast. Oh, a Golden Point win. Oh, my God. That'll be so hard. Thursday night screaming. No one will be able to get up and go to work early the next day. Feeling for all those nervous fans at the game. Amazing. Timmy's come in 30-18 for the Bulldogs. Yeah, well, not. If we do win big, as long as our boys stay grand. Well, see, that's the sort of narrative I'm sort of expecting and talking about, brother. It's if we win, I expect us to win big, and then I expect us to it's it's a hard thing for the coach to go, look, you did great. You did exactly what I expected you to do. The next time you play them, you will need to do the job just as well, if not better. Because it is unfair, the turnaround they've been given after the Warriors game, knowing that they were going to be playing, a lot of their players were playing Origin this year, probably maybe expecting even more. Because the NRL would have been like, oh, Penrith will be top 2 or top 3 for sure by this time of the year. Just so I don't care about their ladder position. I just think it's unfair to get a 5-day turnaround after a Warriors game. I think that's wrong. But anyway. Geez, I'm glad I didn't have a punt last week. A couple of those teams should have won and won comfortably. Looking at Warriors and Dolphins, sad news for Bostock too, poor bloke. Yeah, he's out for the season. Yeah, well, look, I thought Titans would beat Para. That was a big win for the Parramatta Eels. I expected Newcastle to beat the Dolphins. Expectation's a bad word, but I tipped them. I thought Melbourne would definitely win. I was hoping South would win, and I never say that. I knew the Dragons would lose. And who was the other upset that I got? I thought Tigers would go really close to beating the Raiders. I actually thought they would win. They lost. And I thought they were ripped off. So the Tigers should be in the 8, really. If you look at how many close games they've lost and some of the decisions, if I'm looking at them decisions going, if that was the Bulldogs, I'd be fucking screaming. So, yeah, I think they're not far off the Tigers. Not far off at all. And them Fainu brothers are starting to come good. They've got the edge back row, they got the middle, and they got the little fellow who's going to play 6 now. They're footballers, the 3 of them. I think if they can stay injury-free and keep grounded, and the Tigers have got they've got to look back at Fulton, who come across for them as a recruitment, and go, we're grateful that they come across. I know they cost them a lot of money, but I think they're $500,000 each or something on 3-year deals. Like, they come over for a lot of money, but they look really talented. That hairful penny was bullshit for Skelton. I think he pulled his hair at the end of the day. I don't do tips, Supercoach, or gamble this way. I enjoy every game. I always back who will help the Dogs. Yeah, well, that's it, bro. That's it. There's nothing worse than when you're tipping when I say tip, I just mean I look at the games and go, this is who I think will win. I don't go on any tipping comps anymore or anything like that, and I definitely don't gamble on NRL. No way. G'day, Reg. Welcome. Where do you think Cobbo ends up? Wouldn't look right in a Dargans jersey. They're saying that the Cowboys are trying to get him. Like someone said today, the Cowboys were out. The Dragons were going to sign. Then I read something this afternoon that the Cowboys want him before June 30. So they've got 6 days to get him. But there was sort of narrative going that if the Dragons could offload Terrell Sloan, they could bring Cobbo in and pay the rest of his salary for this year, and then maybe give him a bit less for a couple of years. But they really do think that Cobbo is going to end up at Perth with Big Mao. Broncos holding him back so far. Well, it's funny. Kevin Walter's the one defending him, and Kevin and obviously Gordy, when he come out and said that Kevy can't coach. That's hilarious. But he's a good player, Selwyn. Very good player. I can't believe he's sitting in reserve grade, to be honest. This Carapani seems to have good work ethic, and Arthur's just puts in every game. Like, they're probably... And then they got this fellow Shibasaki. I couldn't believe it. It was the actual Shibasaki from years ago, who I think started the Broncos or Cowboys and then went to Newcastle on some money and then fell away. got some bad injuries. He's playing really well. Yeah, I heard Cobbo's manager wanted around 650. I mean, for a rep player, that ain't bad. Yeah, especially, I think 650 is the right amount for someone who could play wing and centre, but sort of has aspirations to be a fullback and looks like they could do it. And watching him come through Wynnum, he's just got game, There you go, guys. I think it's time for me to head off and get some shut-eye. It's been great talking to you all. I hope I covered everything that you had to say and more. Wasn't Dogs looking at Karapani at one point last year? Oh, yeah, I think he was linked at some point. Yeah. No one was real excited about it. And I think Cobbo, just quietly, the Bulldogs were looking at Selwyn Cobbo during this year. So, just quietly, I heard on the grapevine, but I don't think that's going to eventuate. So there you go. Well, it looks like the internet held up. I changed some things around. I reduced the quality, so my appearance won't be as beautiful as normal. But what a good day. Tomorrow's Wednesday. We get the 24-hour team named tomorrow. I expect that side's going to, I think, who's going to come? I'd say Moran's going to be there as 18th man. I think the other one will be Rini Karma. Moran and Rini Karma, I reckon, will be the 18th and 19th man, or 19th and 20th man, as us Bulldogs have. Go the Dogs, see you in the makeshift kennel this week, whoever can make it. Yeah, get down there to the kennel, guys, and watch the Bulldogs live at Combank Stadium. It's a great stadium. Have a great Thursday, everyone. I love your photo there, Shreek. Go the Doggies, says Timmy. You have a great week too, Timmy, and we'll chat on Thursday. Guys, in State of Origin week, we're going to have a quiz. We've got Joby coming on. We've got Timmy coming on. And maybe one other person. Maybe Don't Break the Fence, the champion. You might come on. I reckon you do well at this quiz too. Another great chat. Yep. It's good to see you, Dave, and you were first on tonight. And last comment before I leave. Great to see you all, and we will talk again. I don't think there'll be any Dog Fathers keys to victory this week, but we did the early preview, so won't do a late one, but there'll definitely be a review of this game. Yeah, we need you, bro. We need you. James, I think a lot of abuse directed at players is related to gambling. You ruined my multi. How dare you? Very good point, Jimmy. Can I call you Jimmy? My middle name's James as well. So, yeah, very, very good point. And one of the reasons I like that the Bulldogs take a stand against gambling, even though Laundy's Pubs, I'm sure, has pokies. But anyway, gambling in the game just makes it unenjoyable all of the time, unless you're winning, I guess. But I know some people who gamble on it and spend a little bit of money, and they understand it's just you win, you lose, whatever. But there's people who just don't have that filter or have that experience or understanding. Like, can you imagine that when Nicarima gave the ball to Herbie Farmworth, if you'd had Nicarima anytime try scorer? Oh my God. Imagine if it was a multi to win heaps of money and he's just handed it, giving the try to someone over the try line so they could keep their streak going of how many tries they'd scored in consecutive games. Wow. Anyway, I was saying goodbye. It was great to talk to you all. Really good point at the end there, James, and have a great week. Go the Dogs. Thank you so much. Like and subscribe. I forget to say all that stuff. But yeah, do it.